Ladies and gentlemen, joining me here today for a sit-down interview is the complete Matt Cardona. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Everything's good. First question, WrestleMania 41 weekend, you were out to dinner with your wife, Chelsea. You said that the U.S. Championship was on the line in your hotel room that night. Who won?
I think we were. She lost the title for us.
Right.
Come on, Chelsea. But I think the U.S. stood for United States, and us, we were the United States Women's Champion. And since we're married, I get half of her stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, but I know that she lost it, but that night in particular, who won?
It was a tie. It was a draw. Time limit draw. 60-minute time limit draw.
That's so good. For sure. And now kind of going into your WWE career just a little bit, thinking about what could have been. WrestleMania 24, you interfere in the match Edge versus The Undertaker, right?
Yes.
The Undertaker said that the closest that Vince ever came to, ending the streak was versus Edge. So how does it kind of feel that the Undertaker streak could have been broken because of Matt Cardona?
Oh my God, I never really thought about that. Hawkins and Ryder, we do a run-in. I was so nervous leading up to Mania because the week before, or maybe 2 weeks before, Undertaker lays us out on television. I'm thinking, oh no, are we not going to get involved in this match? But luckily we do a little run-in, make a little cameo. It would have been cool to be responsible for breaking his streak. That didn't happen, but it was an honor to be out there. I mean, our first WrestleMania is technically the main event. It was the main event. I guess I'm a WrestleMania main eventer. That's not quite true, but
you could market that. I know that you're like a genius at marketing.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of that match, we talk about what could have been the next year. I thought it could have been, should have been, would have been Edge versus Hawkins versus Ryder in this 3-way Edge Heads Explodes match. But instead, Hawkins and Ryder were lumberjacks in the pre-show tag team match. We weren't even in the tag team match. We were the lumberjacks. So things can change really quick for better or for worse in pro wrestling.
Right. Right. And how did it feel to be in, that type of spotlight, right? Like in the main event of WrestleMania. I know that you briefly touched on it in the Chris Van Vliet interview. You touched on being in the writer's room, just kind of just like a fly on the wall, right? Like how intense was that?
Honestly, this is going to sound, it's probably not going to sound how I wanted to sound, but it just felt like, okay, this is the natural progression. We get called up as the Major Brothers. It's not working out. We have this idea to be the Edgeheads. He goes for it. Everything's cooking. We're on the road every single week, doing all the international tours, all the house shows. We're doing the tag team matches, then we're helping Edge later in the night. It just felt natural. Okay, well, it's WrestleMania. Here we go. Like it didn't feel. I'm not saying it didn't feel special, but we weren't like, oh my God, we're here. It just felt like this natural progression. It's not until you look back, like, oh my God, how are we in the main event WrestleMania, our first WrestleMania? How are we in that spot so fast? Hindsight's 2020, I guess. And not that I took it for granted. I certainly didn't take it for granted. I knew how important that opportunity was, but we weren't like marking out over Edge and Undertaker. This is business.
Yeah, no, it completely makes sense. And now speaking about Edge, now Cope, just a little bit, in a full circle moment, you got to wrestle him in AEW. So what does that match mean to you?
Oh man, that was a absolute dream match, a dream match that I had concocted in my brain, in my dreams for years. Even before getting into WWE, I wanted it to be Edge versus whatever my name would be. And like I said just a few minutes earlier, I thought it would happen in WWE, Edge, Hawkins, Ryder. Never happens. Then, there could have been a chance, but I'm the woo-woo guy. But unfortunately, Adam, he has that neck injury. He retires. And okay, it's never going to happen. Then he comes back. And not that I thought the match was going to happen, but at least it's on the table. It's possible. I thought maybe there's something we can do where Hawkins and Ryder become the Edgeheads again. Well, we get fired. So, okay, the match is definitely off the table. He leaves. He goes to AEW. And now anything can happen with the Forbidden Door. And I knew that it was at least a possibility. And I've said it before. I sent him a text and I pitched, hey, I don't even think he realized it was my dream match. I said, hey, man, this is my dream match. I'm shooting my shot. If it ever comes up and you need an opponent, I'm always ready. And a few months later, I got the phone call.
And so when that phone call finally does come in, what's that moment like when you're preparing for that match? Is there any nerves there? I know that you said with the WrestleMania one, there wasn't. It was like, yeah, you're ready. But in your dream match, was there anything there?
Honestly, my first reaction was, oh shit, I have to cancel a booking this weekend. I'm supposed to wrestle Ultimo Dragon. That's my first reaction, because I don't cancel on bookings. There's so many people in the indies, or even people who are in AEW who do indies, who cancel all the time. And I'm not one of those guys. I don't cancel for any reason. But this is a reason to cancel. This is a reason, to change things up. And I can't believe that I even hesitated for a moment. I'm like, should I cancel? Should I not? Of course I should cancel this one. But for a moment, I was like, nah, I committed to this booking, because that's just how I am. I'm as Brian Myers says about himself, I think I'm maybe the most professional wrestler. So I didn't want to cancel the booking, but it happened so fast. I didn't have any chance to be nervous, because, I had to wrestle on a Friday night. I had to fly Saturday night to Collision, and then drive into Canada. I just wanted to make the show. It was a travel loop from hell. I just was worried about getting there on time. And the other thing I was worried about was, I don't want this to get out. I don't want Sean Ross Sapp to report about this. I was like, oh God, I just want this to be a true surprise. And it was, and it was such a great reaction when I came out, the holy shit chants. And it was this feeling like, okay, everything I've been doing these past few years has been working. And to have the match, and, one of my favorite matches ever. And it clicked. Like, we had this natural chemistry for two guys who never, ever wrestled each other, So, and then for him to, I don't want to say he put me over afterwards, but he said how proud he was. That meant the world to me, for sure.
And that kind of speaks to your experience, right? The fact that you guys had chemistry together is because you guys are two veterans. Like, I got to see you in Toronto at MLP, and right when you made that entrance in the Battle Royale, I looked over at my wife and I was like, this guy belongs in the WWE, AEW, just somewhere. Yeah. Right? And so I feel like that was just hard work paid off.
It certainly felt that way that night. Yes, hard work paying off, because, for a split second, I don't know if you go back and watch, I have a little intro to my song. And unless you're this super super Matt Cardona, RIP Zack Ryder, unless you're this super Matt Cardona fan, you might not be familiar with my song, right? And they didn't put my name on the screen right away. So at first, I don't know this. Right. I'm behind the curtain. My music plays and there's no reaction. I'm like, oh my God. And then when it says always ready, my name shows up. And then I'm like, oh, thank God, but for about 5 seconds, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster.
You talk about Zack Ryder being dead. What was your eulogy at his funeral?
Man, I poured out a Bud Light Lime. That was, or now a garage beer. Listen, so grateful for my time in WWE. So grateful for my time as Zack Ryder. And of course, there's always a part of Zack Ryder in me, but the character's dead. The name is dead. And nothing but great memories, even the good and bad. It made me who I am today. It made me, whether it may be the wrestler I am today, the man I am today, the person I am today. So I'm super grateful for that time period, but it was time to move on. I knew, once I got released from WWE, I wasn't going to try to spell it with a different, like ZACH or anything like that. Even a few years ago, after I got released, the WWE let the trademark go. And I wanted to get it, but not to call myself Zack Ryder. I'm thinking merchandise. I'm thinking, 2 packs for my toy line, Zack Ryder versus Matt Cardona. Once WWE found out I was going after it, let's just say I didn't go after it anymore. Was not worth the time or the money.
Right. And last question about, your time in WWE, Father's Day just passed.
Yeah.
I have to bring up WrestleMania 32.
Oh, of course.
You know, you winning the IC title, your dad jumps into the ring, you guys share a very emotional hug. How supportive has your dad been of your wrestling career over the years?
Oh my God, super support. My first ever match. It was on the Indies. It's a battle royal, and he's there holding, the camcorder. So he was there from day one. Always. In the backyard, we had the WTW, the World Trampoline Wrestling. He helped make the stencils to spray paint WTW on the canvas. You know what I'm saying? And I just posted about that WrestleMania, and I guess I thought I told the story many times that he just hopped the guardrail on his own, but I had so many people either in the comments or my friends like he really hopped the guardrail. That wasn't planned. I'm like, no, that maybe he had it planned, but it was not planned by me. It was not planned by WWE. It was not approved by me or WWE. They ended up loving it. The next day he was flying home with my mom to go home, and the script comes out for Raw. It was me versus Miz, and the script has my dad involved. I'm like, my dad, he's not here. He's flying home. I had to call my dad and be like, don't get on that plane. You're booked for Raw.
And was he excited to, be on Raw that next night then?
Oh, super excited.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad, he cost me the Intercontinental title when you watch the footage. The reason I lost the Intercontinental title is my dad got involved. How ridiculous is that?
Right. Yeah, you had a great career in WWE, but then your indie career, I think, way better, some would argue. But when you did get released in 2020, what was the thing that got you off your ass to create the indie god, Matt Cardona?
People forget, when I got released, like the pandemic just started. There was nowhere to go. There was no indies. And if there were indies, they were doing, like, you couldn't leave the house. You know what I'm saying? So when indies started popping up, it was social distancing. It was the mask, most of them outside. That I didn't want to do any of that stuff. That's, so I did a couple things with AEW. I did some stuff with Impact TNA. And then when the indies and the world opened up, that's when I just dove head first. This is it. Like, okay, this is my chance to really reinvent myself. And, I thank TNA, because I started with TNA probably January of that year. And like, it helped get my feet wet, and it helped get my confidence back, because I didn't know who Matt Cardona was. It's like, who is Matt Cardona? It's not just Zack Ryder with a different name. I had to find myself, and it was really on the indies where I found myself through GCW, through becoming the Deathmatch King, the indie god, all that stuff. I just knew that, oh God, this makes me sick saying it because I say it so many times, but I didn't want to prove people wrong. I wanted to prove myself right and my fans right, and I feel like I have, and I continue to. But I still want to accomplish more. I'm not satisfied doing what I'm doing now. Like, I'm grateful for it. I'm proud of it, but I want to accomplish so much more.
Your old title, the Indie God, Shotzi is now claiming that as the new Indie God, and you have a match against her. So what do you have to say to her?
Well, that green-haired bitch, she's stealing. She's stealing my intellectual property, the Deathmatch King, the Indie God. Like, I have that trademarked. So she, like, if she wants me to sue her, I will. I know where she lives. I'll take her house. I don't care. I'm building a new house in her neighborhood. I'll have two houses. Maybe I'll turn her house into a toy room if she keeps it up. And then I saw she's trying to get involved with my garage beer sponsorship. So first, when she got released, I felt bad for the girl. I'm like, you know what? Let's get her payday. Let's add her to Big Rubber Guys, my toy company's new toy line. Let's get her a little payday. And I thought we were cool. I don't really know her, but I'm like, she's toyetic, green hair, the tattoos, people will buy her. I just want to throw her a bone. And then, of course, make some money off her too. And then she starts using like my Indie God name, my Deathmatch King name, and like the garage beer sponsorship. Like, she's really infringing on my my intellectual property, and I don't like it one bit.
You ended up putting out a tweet when all these talent got released, reinvent yourself, things like that. Shotzi kind of doing that here. So would you say that this is slightly your fault?
No, in all seriousness, she's doing the right thing. She's everywhere. You see match graphic, convention, autographs. She's doing what she absolutely should be doing, and that's hit the ground running. I said in that tweet, that you have three options. You could either like boo-boo face, feel bad about yourself, and fade into obscurity. You can coast off your WWE name. And I don't mean like your literal name, you know, like I mean like the fact that you're in WWE and then forever, and you'll be fine. You'll make some money you'll go to WrestleCon every year till the day you die. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Or you could say, F this, I'm gonna, make a better living now than I made inside the company. I'm gonna have more fun. Right. And that's what it's all about, right? Making money, having fun, being happy. And she's certainly doing that. So as much as I hate what she's doing with my intellectual property, I don't want to say proud of her. I don't even know her. Right. But she's doing the right thing. And hopefully the other people who were released at the same time should take notice. I mean, there are some people who were released at the same time. What are they doing? Now, there's on the flip side, there's a lot of people doing the right thing, so you have three options, three roads. You're the driver, which road are you going to choose?
And you've obviously been in the indies for a few years now. And so have you seen WWE releases? Like they've had so much potential and they just did nothing with it.
Yeah, I would say 99% of the people, but that's just not now. That's forever. I hate to put myself over, but I will for a second. People, they say to me sometimes, you're only successful in the indies because you're in WWE. Okay. Yes. Part of that's true. But if everyone who was ever in WWE who got released was successful in the indies, well, where are they? Where have they been? Because it's not just, oh, you're from WWE, you're going to be successful. No. I mean, listen, of course it's helping. Of course, I had that TV equity that I got to flip the script on. I was this good guy for so long. Now I'm the ultimate bad guy. Of course, that's why I say WWE was my developmental. It taught me everything. It set me up, right? But if everyone who got released was just instantly successful, well, I mean, you'd be interviewing them.
Right. Yeah. I remember as a kid, I used to watch you on TV, right? Zack Ryder. But then
thank you for making me feel old.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was 10 years old. And now I'm 25. So yeah. And then when I came back to watching wrestling, I heard of this Matt Cardona. I'm like, oh, Zack Ryder. Yeah. Okay. But he's cooler now and he has a beard and he's cooler.
Hey, I'll take that.
Right. We talk about people reinventing themselves. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, they are the staple on the indies for recreating themselves. But what's one thing from their runs that you have used in your run today?
I certainly stole from both of them, but I added my own elements to it because they were everywhere. Everyone was talking about them, right? Like whether you were actually watching their matches, that doesn't matter. You knew they were having these matches. You knew they were wrestling here or there, different states, different countries. So they were the talk of the town, so to speak. But I wanted to add my own flavor to it. And I think because I'm such a collector at heart, I was able to add the merchandise and monetizing myself and my brand. I hate using that term brand, but that's what it is, right? Like I was able to monetize that so much where that's what I preach to all these guys and girls in the indies, whether you came from WWE, AEW, never made it there yet. Like you got to monetize yourself. You got to market yourself, and not just because you want to make extra money. Of course we all want extra money, but like for instance, the merch table before a show. Yes. I want to make as much money as possible. My goal is to make more money than I get to wrestle, and I get paid to wrestle a lot. So that's how much money I want to make. And that doesn't always happen, but that's always the goal. But what's more important than the money is the connection you're making with that fan coming up to that table, when you're signing that autograph, taking that picture, you can make a real connection that lasts years, forever. And that's my goal when I'm at these conventions or before shows, is to make a connection with that fan and have a lifelong fan.
Oh yeah. And I think that you opening even just this opportunity for people to interview you, it opens a whole new avenue.
I love money.
That's true. That is true.
Like I said, I'm always looking at ways to monetize, right? Because I've said this before in interviews. I make more now, and I hate talking money, but I make more now than I ever made in WWE. But a little asterisk to that, I never had those huge WWE deals that people have now. Okay, and also, it's everything added up. I say crumbs make crumb cake. It's the matches, it's the merch table, it's the conventions, the autograph signings, the now podcast, right? The toy business, the whatnot. It's every little thing I do. That I'm about to film something for like what some protein cereal thing. It's like every little thing added up. And that the crumbs make crumb cake. And that's what it is. You gotta try, you gotta hustle. It's a hustle. And I think the problem is when people get released from WWE, they're not used to having to do that. Because in WWE, everything's, your flights are taken care of. You get that email. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything's done for you. Here, you got to do it all yourself.
You talk about talent also overpricing themselves, right? So, what would you say is kind of like a good range for these people to price themselves on? It's like they think that they're worth this much, but when you're on the indies, maybe they have to stoop a little lower.
Well, I'm not going to give an actual monetary value. I will say this. A lot of the people now, like I said, they have these giant deals. So they're thinking, well, how am I going to make that much? So they're doing all these equations trying to, oh, well, if I make this much for this show, you're not going to make that top WWE money from just it's all the other stuff, right? And I would say this, maybe a couple shows will book you at that high rate, but don't you want to keep coming back? That's my goal. I want to do a show, and maybe I'm not coming back next month, 6 months, 3 months, a year. I want to keep coming back to these towns. So I try to make my rate something where it's like, listen, I want to make money. This is business, but I want to be brought back. And that's why I think I've been able to not just be sustainable on the indies for all these years, but keep going, keep evolving, because you don't want to just have that 1 year and then what? Everyone's hot or potentially could be hot for those first 6 months, first year. But if your rate is so high where they're not bringing you back, well, where are you going to go?
Right.
What, then you're going to lower it, which is possible. I've never lowered my rate. In fact, I think I should raise it.
For a guy that doesn't like to talk about money.
Well, we're not talking.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. Earlier you were talking about how you've been on TNA so many times throughout the years, but you've been on a good streak within these past couple of weeks, right? 1 week you're a special guest ref. You have a tag match tomorrow.
Yes.
Have you thought about Shawn Michaels potentially giving you a call and saying, we need you on NXT next week?
Hey, listen, that's the best part about being me right now is that any company, big or small, could call me right now and I could have that conversation. I'm not signed to anybody. I love TNA. I love going to TNA. And I was going to TNA when it was Impact during the pandemic and there were no fans. So to see it rise up, to see it fill out these arenas, to see it having this WWE affiliation, to see their wrestlers leaving and becoming big stars, or even Joe Hendry. I don't like the guy. He's world champ on wrestling. That's awesome. That's awesome for Joe. That's awesome for TNA. So TNA, I feel like TNA and Matt Cardona, we have a lot in common where we just never quit. We were counted out so many times and just kept going. And now we're both rising. Our stocks are rising.
And last week you had a face-to-face with your old tag team partner.
Oh, God, yeah.
So what's going on there?
Listen, I don't know. Brian Myers and I, we've been partners in TNA. We've been opponents in TNA. And it's funny. I just texted him earlier today. I'm like for the rest of our lives, we're going to get arguments. For the rest of our lives, we're going to be friends, brothers, partners, enemies, whatever. And that's just how it is. So what version of the Matt Cardona, Brian Myers story we're going to get next? I honestly don't know, but it'll be intriguing either way.
When your indie journey eventually comes to an end, will there be a part of you that misses the life that you have right now?
I love this life. Absolutely love it. I love the grind. I love the hustle. I love being able to make my own schedule. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss Madison Square Garden. You know what I'm saying? I miss taking showers after a show because the venue has a proper locker room with showers. I miss that, So right now I'm having a great time. But when this indie run ends, I will certainly miss this part of my career because it was so special because I did it my way on my own terms. a lot of success, a lot of failures, but all because of me, which I love. I love taking accountability for the good and bad things.
And this, this interview has been so much fun. I want to thank you for, sitting down with me. But
Oh, no problem.
last question.
Okay.
In the Chris Van Vliet interview, you said that you learn something new for every single booking that you take. What's something new that you learned in this interview?
Ooh, something new I learned in this interview. Put me on the spot here. That's a great question. I learned that you have a very professional backdrop. Maybe I need to spice up my backdrop. It looks cool with all the figures and the belts, but there's something about your lighting. I don't know if that's green screen. Is that green screen?
It is. Green screen,
See, maybe I need a little green screen. I've been thinking about upping my production because I do a lot of these things, whether it be for the Major Wrestler podcast or random interviews like this. So maybe I need to up my production a bit because it doesn't look good when the host has a better setup than the superstar. So maybe that's something that I've learned. Not that I have a bad setup by any means. I mean, there are people who do these things in their cars vertically on their cell phone. So certainly better than that. But yeah, like even you have a nice, clean, simple setup. So maybe I need to up my production game a bit. So that's what I learned from this interview.
Shout out Elgato. Something I learned from you.
Oh, that's my calendar.
That's your calendar.
That's it.
I got it. I got the Matt Cardona interview right there. So.
And you know what? I had my interview in there. Yeah, that's that. Listen, I am the internet champion, but for some reason, I just don't like the calendars on the phone.
Yeah.
I need to see it. I need to see and not just see it. And I'm sure there's a way to see it all on your phone as well, but I need to hold it and I need to erase things, like make some notes, and that just works for me. And I carry it with it. I carry it with me everywhere. It's just always in my backpack, always have it. And then it's listen, I've lost it before. Not that particular one, but maybe like a year or two ago, I lost my calendar. And I was screwed because everything was in there. So I had to make these posts. Hey, promoters. I had to go through my emails. I figured it out, but it was scary for a moment.
Yeah, that's so good. Anyways, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me, man. This has been
I appreciate
so
you,
awesome.
Dude. Thank you so much. And great setup.
Yeah. I thought about wearing a suit, but I'm like, I'm just gonna t-shirt.
No, that would have been over the top.
It is over the top.
Too much.
I also thought about cutting, never.
Oh, little broski cut? Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dude.